Hey, good evening, guys. It's Wednesday again. I know, can you believe we're in February? That is just crazy to me. But hope everyone's having a good week and good to have you on here. If you come on when I'm here, say hello, say hi, and also let me know where you're listening from. That would be really cool. Like I said last week, I am trying to get a bit more idea where, people are listening from and all of that. When I was doing my sound check tonight, the sound had a lot of background noise and I don't know if I fixed it. So let me know if you hear a lot of background noise and apologies in advance. I don't know what was going on with it, but I'll try not to move too much and hope it's not too bad. Okay, so if you saw the advert, or do we call it an advert? I don't know. The reminder that we have this call tonight, this weekly live tonight, I said we'll be talking about the D word, debt, which is something that affects so many of us. And the conversation tonight is going to be quite nuanced because this is one of those things that is not a black and white issue. We come at it from different angles depending on our upbringing, our attitude to money and things like that. So that nuance and differences is going to be reflected in the thoughts that I share. And so while I hope that whatever position you're in, you get some value from the conversation tonight, I also understand that depending on where you are, different things might be for you. Some things may not. And so take what you can, leave the rest on the table. That's absolutely fine. So I said we're going to talk about debt. We're going to talk about tackling debt. I will share some of the strategies that I have read about, used myself as well. Some of them may be for you, some of them may not. And also share some of my thoughts on debt in general. Before I go into it, don't think I have anyone on here yet, but I'll go ahead and get started anyway. And just quickly check that I have sound before I jump in. So let's see. Try not to move too much so I don't disrupt the sound. Okay, let's see. Do we have some sound? Okay, we do have sound. Hopefully it's not too bad. Okay. So whenever you watch this, whether it's live or replay, I want to start today with an exercise. You're going to need a pen and paper. Do it with me. Go along with it. And the purpose of the exercise is to set a baseline. Set a baseline for the mindset that we're going to have going into this and giving us a sense of what is really possible. That's the purpose of the exercise. It's not something that I've come up with myself. It's something I've seen someone do and it was really powerful. And I thought it'd be good to start with that tonight. So for the exercise, think about how much money you've made for the last 10 years. So this is your annual salary multiplied by 10. If you've not been working for up to 10 years, if that's 5, let that be 5 for you. And put that number down. How much is it? Is it more than you expected? Are you surprised? Is it less than you expected? Now, when this exercise has been done before, there's a lot of people that have actually been surprised by how much they've made over the years. So that's the first part. Then add it all up. And how much do you have left aside right now? How much do you have left of all of the money you've made over the last 5 or 10 years, depending on how long you've been working for? Does that surprise you? How little or how big that is? Something to think about. Now, if you do have something left, can you subtract from that how much you owe in debt, whether that be car debt, a mortgage? Do you have anything left? How does it make you feel when you look at that number compared to how much you've made or you've been paid or earned over the last 5 or 10 years? Now, when I did this exercise, it was, quite eye-opening, and it really makes you think, how much crosses our hands over the years. Hi, Mandy. Hello. Good to have you on. And just something to really think about. So do this exercise. After you finish it, do it on a scale of 1 to 10, how you're feeling about the results. If it's a 10 being, yeah, absolutely happy with it, that's fantastic. 1 being, I'm so shocked, I don't know what's going on. So that's the exercise. If you've just come on live, you may not have heard the whole thing, so you can go ahead and watch that once you jump on. Hi, Louise. So after that exercise, now I'm going to jump into, the thoughts that I wanted to share. Like I said at the start, debt is a nuanced thing. There is no one size fits all. We have different attitudes towards debt, and that's the first thing that we're going to talk about. Identify, first of all, how you feel about debt. People have different levels of tolerance for it. For some people, it's a normal part of life. It's absolutely acceptable. For some people, it makes them really anxious. How different it is. For some people, at least for most people actually, a mortgage is seen as, something absolutely normal. It's part of life and it's just accepted. Whereas there are some people which for them, that is something they don't even want to have. So we're all different in that sense. So the first step is identifying how you feel about it. Now, let me see, looking at my notes, I make some notes here so I don't forget anything. And then once you've identified what it is, what is your acceptance level? What is your tolerance level? What is the one that you will accept versus what is not okay, what does not feel comfortable? Make a decision to then attack it. Make a decision to, clear it, tackle it, whatever you want to call it. That is the preliminary work that needs to go into that. So the next thing I had on my list is thinking about what does it mean to you, because in terms of numbers, we most of us can do math. We know, how we want the numbers to look, how we want it to work, but it comes from the mind and having that willpower to actually and follow through with the plans we have. So what I wanted to share today, 3 strategies that people use to attack debt. Again, this is not things that I've come up with myself, but it is something that thousands of people have found useful. One of them may be for you, none of them may be for you, but take from it what you can. And for some reason, they seem to be called names of natural disasters. I don't know why. So we have the Snowball method. There's one called the avalanche method. And the third one's called the Tzunami Method. I'm going to give brief information on each one of them. Now, my specialty is not in debt. My interest is in budget. But when you're creating a budget, when you're designing a budget, unfortunately for most of us, debt is something that we have to factor in. It's something that we have to consider because it is part of normal life as we live, most of us. So the first one being the snowball. Now the snowball works on the principle of getting you a sense of accomplishment, a sense of I've got a win. So with that one, you start out documenting how much debt you have, and actually it's the same with all of them. It's important to know exactly how much debt you have in the first place. If you don't know that, that would be the place to start, because if you don't know how much you're owing, then it's easy to lose track of it, because you need to be able to track your progress and see that you're going in the right direction. So lay it all out, how much do you have in total? And then if you're doing the snowball method, what you do, you start by paying off the one that is the smallest. So you start with that. You have all your minimum payments covered, first of all, anyway. And then you start by putting anything you have extra onto the smallest payment until that is paid off. And then you go on to the next smallest one, and the next one, and the next one. Now, what that does, the advantages of this is it's easy to tick things off. You have less different creditors that you owe in total. And you get that win of saying, right, this is done. You can move on to the next one. When the first one's paid off, anything you were paying towards that, you then combine it to go on to the next one, and so on and so forth. the disadvantage to this is that that may not necessarily be the method that makes sense from a numbers point of view. So the smallest debt you owe might not be the one that has the highest interest rate. So in the long term, you may end up paying more. But if you're someone who needs to feel like, yes, I can tick this off, yes, I've done this one, you can get a small win in that way, that might be something that works for you. The next one, which is sort of the opposite of that, is the avalanche method. Now, with this one, again, you're laying out what you owe completely, and then you're starting from what is the biggest amount and what is costing you the most. So you attack that, you put everything towards that. Once that one's paid off, you go on to the next biggest one and you work it down in that way. The advantages to this is that overall, you end up paying less because you're accruing less interest on it. The downside to that is it can take quite a long time for you to have that sense of you're actually making a dent on it. You're actually doing something. And it can be difficult to stay motivated if you're the sort of person that wants that win. So you need to be, quite disciplined, quite focused. And one thing I'll add to that, and this doesn't just apply to this method, it's easier to do something like this when you have people around you that think the same way, that are going in the same direction. That doesn't mean, of course, that that's the only sort of people you're going to have around you. But so that doesn't have to be your family. That doesn't have to be friends you already have. There are lots of communities, either in person or online, people that are working towards the same goal to support you through it, to cheer you on and help you celebrate your wins as you're going along. Because if you are always surrounded by people who don't think the same way and they're not working towards the same goal, it can just make it a little bit harder. But that's the avalanche method. If you know that you're someone that can be quite strict, focused, it doesn't matter how long it takes, you can stay the course, then from a purely numbers point of view, works quite well. And then the final method on my list, that doesn't mean that's everything there is out there. There could be something else, feel free to share it. If you have any other methods that either works for you or you've heard about, let's share, let's learn. That's what it's all about. So the Tzunami Method. So with this one, again, you have it all laid out, and what you're starting with is the debt that impacts you the most emotionally. So a kind of debt that stops you sleeping at night, a debt that is probably something you owe to someone who's a friend and it's caused a bit of friction in the relationship, just something that has a bigger emotional impact. And you can start with that, get that cleared off for the sake of your well-being, and then and to the next one, and to the next one. Now, what you can do is actually once that first one is cleared off, you can go on and switch to a different method to make it work better, either from a mathematical point of view, so a numbers point of view, or from a smallest amount of debt, get a sense of achievement point of view. That is something you can do as well. So those are three of the more popular options that are out there that people are using to tackle it. Like I said, debt is not my specialty, but when we're looking at creating a budget, debt is something that unfortunately most of us are having to factor in and thinking about how to clear that. Now, not all debt is bad debt. You've probably heard me say it before. There is the type of debt that can be an investment, but you need to be able to recognize the difference between the two and tackle it in that way. When you're looking to clear debt, you have to be brutal, you have to be strategic, you have to be methodical, and those are just some of the items that I've put on there. And you might need to do some thinking out of the box as well. Are there things that you can sell that you don't use, that you don't need, that you can put towards doing that to make it a little bit quicker for you? Review any recurrent payments that you have and what is still serving you, what is not serving you. If you're really looking to build up how much you can put towards clearing debt. Let's see, what else do I have on my list? Yeah, I think those were the items that I wanted to talk about in terms of extra support to make that clear quicker. So there's the 3 methods. There's the going back again to understanding what is it you want to clear, why you want to clear it, and being quite clear on that. So a bit of a recap. I started with saying that debt is a nuanced topic. We have different tolerance to it. You need to know what's acceptable for you, what's not acceptable to you. Surround yourself with people who are on the same wavelength as you. That doesn't necessarily have to be existing friends or family. It can be online communities. I talked about the 3 strategies, so the Snowball, Avalanche, and the Tzunami Method, that people have found useful as a strategy to clear debt, because when you have a plan, when you have a strategy, you can actually track your progress and see how you're doing, rather than just being a bit more haphazard. So to close out, I wanted to do another exercise. I know I had one at the start. People that are just joining now, I had an exercise at the start of the live tonight. I'm going to do another one to finish. So if you're paying debt off right now, if you have debt that you're looking to clear off, and whatever you're feeling about it, just spend some time, close your eyes, whatever you want to do, and imagine yourself paying off the last bit of debt that you have. Either clicking that pay on your online account, or if you're someone who still writes checks, signing off that final check, or however you're paying it off. Imagine you are doing that right now. How does it feel? How does it feel to know that that's done, that's completed? Stay with that feeling for a while, and depending on what that means to you, you can start taking steps right now. You can start taking steps to work towards that, to have that cleared, and really putting a plan in place, because it's all well and good talking about it. When you have a strategy, when you have a plan, I believe that it can be done. It absolutely can be done. Okay, so I am going to leave it there. It's gone a little bit longer today, and I hope the sound is okay, and hope you can hear me. This will be up on the page for you to catch up later on, or if you're watching it on YouTube, I will put it on later. And yeah, do subscribe to stay up to date when I come on live again. Well, have a good rest of the week, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Bye.